Automation is to your time what compounding interest is to your money.
If you have ever wanted to grow on social media, to be seen as an expert in what you do, to leverage audience to make more money, to get more sales, and to figure out how the biggest names in the world actually got there, this interview is for you. This is an interview with Rory Vaden, who is a multiple times New York Times best-selling author himself. And he has created what I would say is the formula for growing online, growing audience, and then figuring out how do you make more money in your business and your life once you become an expert.
When you have a genuine passion for helping other people, and if you can obsess about it, the way that Dave's obsessed about getting people out of debt, the way that Lewis obsesses about helping people overcome self-doubt, your world starts to change, and you start to change the world of the people around you.
You have a lot of systems and ideas for how you get people to think in frameworks.
Think about it like a rocket. Your personal brand should be the sort of side boosters that you use to get the business off the ground. But then once you get it launched out into space, then your personal brand falls off and the business can just sort of follow a trajectory and live on without you.
Interesting.
The best form of marketing in the world is a...
This is the Big Deal Podcast, and I'm Codie Sanchez. This interview is really interesting. It's hyper tactical. If you don't want to learn about how to make more money online and you don't want to learn about how to grow online, you're going to hate this interview. But if you do like that, I would sit down, grab a pen, listen up, maybe listen to it twice, because this man has not only done this for himself, but for many, many others. Without further ado, I want to bring you my dear friend Rory, and I want to get into it. So when I was thinking about writing my book, and then I was thinking about marketing my book, there was sort of one human I called all the time, which was you. And we talked about, man, how do I get on the right stages? How do I make this go really viral? Who are the people that are behind sort of the biggest names in the world? And your name obviously came up, and we've shared many a stage now across the country. But, today I thought we could start.
By the way, that book went New York Times bestseller, baby. Didn't it? It sure did.
And you said we were going to, too. I was like, I don't know. Is it?
It was awesome. I'm proud of you, dude.
Well, thanks. You helped a lot. We, many a late night text, and we were joking, but I hate voice notes. You love voice notes. So I had to outlaw them.
We had conflict.
I know, exactly. Except they were so good that I had to listen to them, which was so annoying for me, too.
And then I learned a lot because you were like, hey, I need you to communicate with me in writing. And I was like, okay, that's good. I will write it out for you,
Codie
Sanchez.
is honest. Codie is too honest. But where I thought we could start for people today was, I believe that the internet and attention is the most powerful weapon that you have today in the 21st century. And if you have money, you can buy attention. But if you don't have money, you can't buy attention. And so for people today, I was kind of thinking, if we could break this down from, let's say right now, you have no audience, no followers, where would you start?
Yeah, I mean, you have to start by changing how you think about online. I mean, I think when we talk about personal branding, their mind goes crazy to like TikTok and algorithms and brand guidelines and colors and logos and fonts. The way that we define it is that personal branding is simply the digitization of your reputation. So what I would want, if you're just starting out, what I would say is, remember that this is reputation. It is as old as time. Like, what matters more than the number of followers you have is the depth of trust that your followers have with you. And so people get all freaked out about like who they're going to be on camera and what they're going to say. And it's like, be who you are in real life. Be someone that is an expert. Be someone who adds value to people, be someone who adds value to people's lives and build trust first and foremost.
Love it. So if we were going to get super tactical.
Yeah.
So first we got to start out with getting an online following is really just reputation increase, right? But if somebody came to me and they were like, I want to grow my personal brand fast and I want to follow your system, Rory, what would be the first couple of steps that you would tell them? Do you have like a steps 1 through 10?
Sure. Here's what I would say. Don't start with why, start with who. So I love Simon Sinek, but when you're building a personal brand, what matters most is being clear on who you're talking to. Once you're clear on who you're talking to, every other downstream decision becomes clear. What are their problems? What content will attract them? What can I sell to them? How much can they afford? What do they need? Where are they? How do I reach them? if you are unclear on your who,
Yeah.
every other decision becomes fuzzy. Like, what do I say? What do they want to hear? What topics? If you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. So you have to get crystal clear on who you're talking to. Now, the shortcut on this to figure out who is your who, what we realized is that for all of us, you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. That's the fastest path to get clear on your who. And once you nail that, now all of a sudden I can serve that person in the deepest way. And now all of a sudden you have a chance to make content that breaks through the noise. So that's the first place. You start with who.
That's so true, which is basically just like in business, you build an avatar. You build your digital avatar who's going to be the person you sell things to. And if you're selling attention, it's the same exact thing, right?
Absolutely.
And the biggest problem I think most founders have is they think, oh, it's my product. I need to sell this coffee. The coffee's not selling because the coffee's not perfect enough. But often your problem is actually you don't know who you're selling to, and so you never can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And look what you're doing. I mean, you are serving the person you once were. You're teaching people how to do all of the things. Same with us, right? What are we doing? We're helping experts, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, coaches, whatever, because we've been in this space our entire career. That's the shortcut.
Let me guess. You've got one tool for email, one for SMS, and another for forms, maybe a separate dashboard for analytics, and somehow you're still not sure if anything's working. That's, I think, the reality for most e-commerce brands. Bloated tech stacks that eat time, wreck your margins, and require a full-time ops person just to function. OmniSend changes that. It's a single platform where email, SMS, sign-up forms, automations, segmentations, and analytics all live in one clean dashboard. You get powerful tools without the learning curve or the price creep. You can launch campaigns in minutes, not hours, and you can buy customer journeys that trigger automatically based on behavior. And the data, it tells you what's working, what's not, and where to double down. Whether you're running lean or managing a growing team, OmniSend makes your marketing operate like a real system, not a to-do list. So if your stack feels like duct tape and prayer, it's time to upgrade. OmniSend was built for brands that are serious about scale. So after you figured out your who, what is next if you want to grow online?
Be able to answer this one question in one word. What problem do you solve for that person? If you look at some of the biggest personal brands in the world, I think of like Brené Brown. Brené Brown owns the topic of shame. She has studied shame for decades, and she became one of the world's leading thinkers, one of the most influential people in the world because she owns that topic. You look at Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey owns the topic of debt. Like, he owns that. He owns that word. This is part of how I broke through the wall originally in our first company. All I did was study procrastination, was the psychology of getting people to do things they didn't want to do, right? My first book was Take the Stairs, and it was just a metaphor for how to get yourself to do the stuff you hate doing. Brand Builders Group now, the word that we solve is obscurity. All we do is help people become more wealthy and well-known. So most personal brands cannot speak with a level of clarity about what is the problem they solve for people. And in order for people to pay attention, I have to be able to solve a problem for them, or I at least have to be useful for them. So I would try to narrow that down to one word. And then I would also make a list of maybe 52 questions that your prospect has about the problem that you solve for them. And I would start systematically addressing them. And I'm just trying to go, how can I be so useful that they can't ignore me? How can I be so valuable that they have to pay attention? When I got introduced to you, it's like when you meet high profile people, you can't just jump in and sell them stuff. The goal should be, how can I be so useful they have to pay attention to me? At least that's the goal. That's our strategy.
It's actually so true. A lot of times people will say, how do you get a mentor? How do you get a mentor? And I think the answer to how you get a mentor is exactly that. Make yourself so useful that you become so valuable to them for $0 that they end up eventually wanting to pay you a lot of zeros. And it is this weird flip. And I think a lot of people struggle with that early on because they're like, well, I don't know anything. How am I going to be useful to a Rory, right? Or how am I going to be useful to a Dave Ramsey? But they don't realize that all of us we have actually just massively more needs. The more successful you become, the more holes you have to fill.
Totally.
And so anywhere that you find some curiosity for a super famous person or for a super successful person, and you think, God, I just want to go down this rabbit hole. And I looked at their website and I found all the spots that I didn't understand. And I went to their social media and I created like 3 ideas for videos that they didn't have. And I just gave them the scripts. It's almost like this upfront work gives all of this back end opportunity.
Absolutely. And I would say philosophically, that's another thing that the best personal brands in the world do is they give first, they serve first, and they allow the money to show up second. It's like paying in rears versus paying in forwards, right? So there's some services we pay and then we get the service. But in the online world, it's like I have to automate trust at scale. I have to one of our mantras that we say is save the best for first. Save the best piece of content you have for the very next thing that you teach. Like you don't have to be scared about giving away all your good stuff and then no one buying. You have to be scared about not giving away anything good enough that nobody ever comes back. So you have to always push yourself to be like, again, it's that value throttle. And it's like, how can I increase the throttle here on adding value to everyone around me? And that applies, I think, offline and online. But, I mean, the reason people pay attention to you is your content is so freaking good. It's so useful. And I think when you're picking your content strategy, I mean, high level, it's one of the 3 E's. We call it the 3 E's. You're either entertaining, and I'm not that entertaining, but some of you are. Some of you can be. You have encouraging, so you can be inspiring and uplifting, and I try to be a little bit of that. But for most of our clients, it's educational, and it's going, what can I teach? And everyone thinks, oh, I don't have anything to teach. And you go, unless you're serving the person you once were. Then all of a sudden, all of us are qualified to teach because we've experienced the pain. We've overcome the obstacle. We've walked through the setback. And now all of a sudden, that's all the credibility that I need.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And it's, one of my mentors said to me, when you get in rooms with people who have more zeros than you, they can actually see into your future because they've been there. And so it's the same idea of, I remember the first time before I was making $1 million a year, before the business was making 8 figures, before the business hit 9 figures, I just got lucky in being in rooms where other people already had the business that I wanted. And it, what was wild is because I got to sit next to, John, who had a business that was already doing $8 million a year back when mine was doing $1 million a year. John basically said, oh, here's going to be the next 5 issues that you have. And so because I knew that, since he had already been through it, I got to steal his 10,000 hours. I got to compress 7 years into 1 year from his interaction.
Yeah.
And so it's a real value, I think, that people don't realize that if you have something to share from your historical lessons, you're doing the world a solid when you put it out there. And I didn't realize that at first because I thought people who taught just couldn't do. We've all heard that adage. And I also thought, well, God, if it works so well, why are you telling other people? Why wouldn't you just go do it yourself? And I remember seeing like a clip. We could actually play the clip here, which is from Mark Cuban. And his clip basically said, if they're telling you about how to do it on the internet, it doesn't work because if it worked, they'd just go do it. And I thought that was so funny. It sounds great. Except it's wrong because what actually happens is when you give more, you get way more in return. And why do you think some of the richest men in the world, Ray Dalio, for instance, are out telling his theory? Because he gets more clients from it. He gets more deals from it. He gets more hires from it. So I think it's super, super powerful to do all of this.
Yeah. Well, and I would purport that there's another massive piece of the transaction that you don't hear enough about, which is, yeah, you get money. Yeah, you get followers. Yeah, you get influence. The other thing you get is significance. Yeah. You get purpose. There is nothing like the feeling you get when you help somebody else succeed, right? And you go, well, if you're so rich, why don't you go do it? And it's like, well, there's a point where you go, I'm not playing because I need more money. I get my thrills, like, no kidding. When I walked into your office downstairs, the thing I was so excited to see was right next on your wall is a picture of your book cover that says New York Times bestseller. Yeah. I'm so much more excited when a client has a level of success than even with our own these days. Yeah. Because you climb that ladder enough times and you realize it's great and it's worth doing, but it's still, you're moving the goalpost. There's always someone bigger than you, something better. There's something ahead. But when you help somebody succeed, it's not just it's a feeling you get. It creates context and value for your life. And I think that's what not enough people are talking about with the internet. And the other thing is, you also don't need to have millions of followers to make millions of dollars. No. One thing that the people watching this need to understand is very few people are going to be you. Very few people are going to reach millions and millions and millions. The good news is not everybody has to. It's actually it tends to be easier for the average person to make more money by serving fewer people in a deeper way, right? Than it is to serve lots of people in a very shallow way. It's like you have to, don't be so focused on the width of your reach that you overlook the depth of your impact. Because just because you have a cat video go viral and you get lots of followers, that doesn't mean that people are going to trust you and buy from you, right? Just because a lot of people are watching doesn't mean they're going to give you their money. Now, you might make money from the platforms, but even that tends to be pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
If I can serve a really small audience in a deep way, if I can be their favorite, if I can be their most trusted, if I can be the person that they look forward to consuming their post, that they don't just look in their feed, that they search my name, then I go, that person is likely to hire me. And not just buy a $20 book, but someone who might spend a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars in a program. For most people watching, that's the actual path to get rich. It's to serve a smaller audience in a deeper way. At least I think that's the more scalable way to do this.
Give some examples of that, because I totally agree with you. And I think actually there's a lot of downsides to super big reach, which is you have to almost water down your message slightly to go so wide. And it has a direct anti-correlation to conversion, aka getting people to buy things from you. And so there's plenty of people who make way more money in their businesses with a much smaller audience set. But give some examples. What would that be?
Well, one example would be us, honestly. Yeah. So, a lot of people have heard of our clients, right? Like Ed Milet and Lewis Howes and Amy Porterfield, these really amazing clients that we work with. A lot of them have millions of followers.
Yeah.
We do not.
Yeah.
Right? But we're generating multi-8 figures, and you're going, how? We only have 1,000 customers. And it's actually because of a technique that we call fractal math. No. Okay, we need to talk about this. Okay, so for those of you that aren't numbers people, just stick with me for a second. I'll keep it simple. Fractal math is a strategy that we teach that says 10% of your customers will invest at a level 10 times more than they just did if you give them more intimacy. Yep. So let's say you have 1,000 customers and a $30 product. Okay, that's $30,000 in revenue. If you said, how can we double our business? Most people would think, go get another 1,000 customers. And that's not wrong, but that is the most expensive way to double a business, because the most expensive customer is a new customer. Yeah. So it's not that you shouldn't do that, or that you can't do that, or that it doesn't work. It does work, but there's another way to do it. The other way to do it is to use fractal math. So if you had 1,000 people give you $30, fractal math says that 10% of those, which would be 100, will give you $300 if you give them a level up in intimacy. And then 10% of which is, by the way, that's another 30,000.
Yep.
And then 10% of those, which would be 10, would give you $3,000. And 10% of those, which would be 1, would give you $30,000. Here, you've quadrupled the revenue without a single dollar in customer acquisition cost. That's what I mean by going deep. It's by serving a smaller audience in a deeper way. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to serve millions of people. But the very definition of reaching millions of people means you have to create content that is applicable to millions of people.
Yep.
Which means it tends to be money, relationships, spirituality, health, politics, right? And you tend to kind of have to stay high level. To play that game, it's hard to also serve people in a really, really deep way. Yeah. It takes a lot of resources to play that width game. So anyways, it's just realizing that there is another way to do this. So you could be a chiropractor and go, I'm going to service a small number of clients in a deeper way. You could be a counselor and say, say you're a marriage coach. It's one thing to have viral videos about marriage. You also can sell books, but you go, are there a few couples that I could truly counsel and go deep with? And, as intimacy increases, price increases.
Yeah, it's wild. So basically, if you wanted to quadruple your business with one move, it would be that. And it's not so much more sophisticated than pricing. But it's really understanding that there's this correlation between pricing and intimacy when it comes to, let's say, knowledge products. It's wild. Over the last 2 weeks, you are the only reason this podcast has grown. I don't know if you're new here or you've been here for a while and y'all just started sharing more, but you were the only reason that we continue to climb the charts and hopefully provide more and more value for you. We just moved up from top 100 to top 50 in biz on Spotify, which is cool. So thank you for sharing with your friends, and thank you for sharing with your employees, and thank you for sharing in your Slack groups and social media and everywhere else. And if you like this podcast, please do send it to another human that you care about, because you are a big deal to me, and I know they are a big deal to you too. So that's a beautiful thing to do. Thank you for sharing the pod. I know you have something special for anybody that's listening today. If they want to go and get a free...
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with people one-on-one. We work in a very intimate way. So if anyone is listening to this and they feel the calling to go, I want to share my expertise with more people, I want to share my story with more people. If you go to freebrandcall.com/Cody, you can request a call with our team, and we do the first call with everybody for free.
And you'll tell them if it's not a good idea for them.
Yeah,
to do a brand.
The first thing, honestly, what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to hear your story.
Yeah.
We want to go, tell us your story. Where are you at on this journey? How fresh is this idea? Do you have a team? Do you not? And we can work with people at all different levels. Not everyone we work with is Codie Sanchez. Most of them are like starting out.
You don't want more than one of those. She's a handful.
But and we will tell people, we'll say, hey, we feel like we can help you.
Yeah.
And there are certain people that we go, we can really, really help you. We call them mission-driven messengers. It's the people who are not just trying to make money, not just trying to grow their reach, the people who are on an absolute crusade to go, this is a calling for me. Those people culturally are going to be the best fit for us. And there's certain parts that we can really help them with. And if we can't, we'll point them somewhere else.
I want to talk about, you've worked with, a million different celebrities and sort of online influencers. You run the real gamut. What celebrities do you think are nailing personal brand the best today?
Well, so I think I'll use the two of our most flagship clients would be Lewis Howes and Ed Milet. And I'll tell you the story about Lewis, okay? So one of our central philosophies, I've said this already, is if you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. When we first started working with Lewis in 2018, we took him through an exercise that we call the revenue streams assessment. And we listed all these revenue streams on the board. And he had 17 revenue streams. And he was like really proud of that because he's like multiple streams of income. The problem is that he only had like 12 people on his team. That's a lot of revenue streams to manage with only 12 people. And so the only thing we ever did for Lewis, Lewis gives us a lot of credit publicly. Like, frankly, we have not done much for him. But the one thing that I did kind of do for Lewis, I said, Lewis, what would happen if you shut all of this stuff down and just went all in on this podcast thing? Because for him at the time, he had about 30 million downloads, and it took about 8 years to get there. Wow. And the podcast was a traffic source. He was really making money from courses at the time. But the reason I mention him, Cody, is because he had a mastermind that was generating multi-seven figures in revenue. And in one conversation, he told me, he said, look, my real vision is I want to impact 100 million people every week. And I said, well, if that's true, and this focus thing is true, what if you went all in on that? And he, out of one conversation, walked up and shut down a $2 million revenue stream in one conversation. And he went all in on the podcast. And what happened was he went from 30 million downloads in the next 2 years to 500 million downloads. That is a decision about purpose. That is a decision to stay true to what the vision is. To say, I care more about making a difference than I do about making a dollar. Now, they're not mutually exclusive. Lewis has made plenty of money, but he did make a short-term financial sacrifice to go all in on the vision. That is, I think, an epic story that is not something that data could really tell you to do. It was an instinct, an instinctual decision. So I love that. The other person that I will use is I'll use Ed Milet. I've gotten a chance to know with Ed. We got to work with him a little bit over the years. Ed Milet does not need any more freaking money.
No, he doesn't. I've been to his house, one of them.
Yeah,
and they're very, very large.
They're very large and lavish and amazing. Why is Ed Milet speaking on stages? He doesn't need the money. He's doing it because he actually gives a crap about helping people. And this is what I believe is the future of the online influencer. It's not just so much what's the algorithm? How do I test the thumbnails? How do I split? Those are tactics that are important. They're like fundamentals of the business. But in a world of AI that solves those problems, that can generate thumbnails and can split test things and can optimize ad spends and landing page conversion, what's going to separate is actually the humanity of the messenger. The person who goes, I'm here because I actually give a crap about making your life better. By the way, this is the thing that attracted me to you, was that when I saw you, I saw someone who didn't need money. I know that you're financially motivated, which is great. But what really attracted me to you was that you said, I want to help Main Street America. I want to take the money, not just steal money from people, but I want to teach the principles of Wall Street, and I want to take that to the people on Main Street. I think the reason you succeed, Cody, is not just because you have a great team and you guys use data and you're smart and you're intelligent and you do all the systems. The reason you succeed is because people can tell that you care about helping them. You're actually on a crusade. And I would suggest that the more that AI levels the playing field of the tactics, the more that human energy matters. That's what I'm drawn to, and that's what I think people are drawn to. So I go, who are the people that genuinely care? Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, another client of ours. When Dr. Lyon, we first started working together, I don't know, she had 100,000 Instagram followers. I don't know what she has now, but it's many times over that. I don't know how much money she's making. I know that she's impacting lots of people. And I know that when we first started working together, that's what she cared about.
Yeah.
This is Dave Ramsey, right? I introduced you to Dave Ramsey. I've known Dave Ramsey since he had 100 employees. He has 1,000 employees now.
Yeah.
They do multi-9 figures a year in annual revenue. There's a lot of people that don't like Dave Ramsey, and there's plenty of things he says that are controversial. But Dave is on the freaking radio every day for 3 hours, 30 years later still. Why? He didn't need money 2 decades ago.
Nope.
He's on the radio because he gives a crap about helping people be out of debt, because he tells the story of what it was like to go bankrupt and have somebody come into his home and take his daughter's crib. Like, that matters to him. That's what a mission-driven messenger is. And I think that's the part that AI can't replace. That's the part that we can only feel as humans. And I think that is the part that is going to matter more and more and more. And I'm not anti-AI. I love AI. I'm just saying I think this is the part. I think this is the future. It's not the vanity stuff. It's the humanity stuff.
It's so true. Well, and even, I remember when I was in Dave's headquarters after you introduced us, and what blew me away, and I think transcends if you want to build a big company that lasts forever, and also if you want a lot of people to care about you on the internet, and also if you want to have a huge impact, like obsession is really hard to beat. And so, people might think we're being touchy-feely by saying we care about people, and if you care more, you'll get more. It's like, it's not enough to just care. You've got to obsess. And when I walked into Dave Ramsey's headquarters, and the first thing that you see is like an example of the old car that he used to have that he sold books out of the back of. It's an entire huge wall and almost like museum exhibit of every single person who's now debt-free. It's that the public is allowed in every single day and given fresh cookies if they want to come and listen to Dave talk. Mm-hmm. And it's that he brings in his family. It's that and then he's so obsessed that he squeezed every bit of productivity out of me in that day that he possibly could have. I think I did 3 podcasts. I met with his team. We had lunch, because he's obsessed about his problem set. And so I think the other thing, if you want to be really successful on the internet, and you want to grow online, it's the most competitive game you could play because anybody can do it. And so the way that you win is by being obsessed about the thing that you're really interested in. And if you're more obsessed in something small, even better. So I totally agreed with that.
Yeah, I think I love that. I mean, he is a great example. And that is, people like, I'm so nerdy about book launches and the art of speaking and the business of speaking and copywriting and it's like, but this is my uniqueness. And I'll share with you the best piece of branding advice I've ever received. I wish this was my quote. It's not. This came from a guy named Larry Winget. He said, the goal is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. Yeah. To find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. To figure out that thing that other people would think is so weird. They'd be like, Rory, why do you care so much about books? And it's like, I don't know. It's just who I am, right? It's the reason why Codie cares so much about laundromats and buying boring businesses. It's just who you are. But you go, you lean into that. You become more of that. Here's another great quote. This one's from Sally Hogshead. She's my friend. And she says, the world isn't changed by people who sort of care, right? Nobody changed the world who sort of cared. You change the world by caring so much that it's like you'll endure tremendous pain and tremendous sacrifice. But I think that there is a certain amount of money for most people that it starts to lose its drive. There is a certain amount of followers at some point for most people that starts to lose its drive. There's a certain amount, once you've spoken on stage in front of 10,000 people 100 times, it's not that you're not excited to do it. It's not the same. But when you have a genuine passion for helping other people, it's this insatiable desire that's healthy.
Yeah.
And if you can obsess about it, the way that Dave's obsessed about getting people out of debt, the way that Lewis obsesses about helping people overcome self-doubt, the way that Dr. Lyon obsesses about people being healthy and getting accurate health information, the way that Ed obsesses over helping people realize that they're capable of doing more, then your world starts to change and you start to change the world of the people around you. And anyways, I don't know. I'm a geek for this game.
Yeah, well, I also think it's the way that you never lose money and the way you don't lose everything is you make sure you really know who you're serving. I think a perfect example of an anti-goal would be the Hawk Tuah girl, right? So she got super famous on the internet, on Twitter for kind of a goofy thing that she said that was kind of a little sexual about, and she was this cute little girl from Alabama, and she went viral everywhere, and she got a podcast deal, and then what did she do? She confused virality for actual direction. And she ended up going all in on this crypto coin, and her followers lost tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars. That won't happen to you if you know who you're serving, because you'll remember what you're actually trying to accomplish. And I think a lot of people blow up spectacularly online and lose their focus, because once you do start getting a little bit of success, you'll get a lot of optionality, and you'll have to make really hard decisions that make people don't like you by saying no to things. And you have to, we just had this conversation actually not too long ago. There was a thing we were both going to kind of knew about a person that was doing something online. That's the most nondescript thing ever. But, there was a thing that came up, and, found out some information that just wasn't ethically aligned with me to stand on that person's stage. And so I ringed you and I was like, did you know about this? Let's talk about it. And it wasn't because I don't want to be next to that person. I don't know them. It was because I know my audience is trying to figure out how to get financially free. And they trust me, some of them, and they want to move to the next level. And if I put them in any situation which might not give them the best advice or the best trust from another human, that's breaking my mission. And so if you don't really stand up for something, you'll fall for anything. And those are the hard decisions I think you have to make as you build a business and get a personal brand. One other thing I wanted to actually talk about with you here is you have so many frameworks and tools and resources that you use. You talked about one, which is this revenue stream breakdown. Mm-hmm. Can you run us through that in 30 seconds?
The revenue stream assessment?
Yeah. How do you figure out what revenue streams you should be doing and what you should not be doing using your revenue streams assessment?
Yeah, so simple. All you do is you list out all your revenue streams on the wall, and we just put them through a simple scoring process, and you go, okay, how many years have you been doing it? How much revenue is it? How stressful is it for you to keep up? And what's the DARES score? So DARES is an acronym that we use. It's 5 criteria that make a great revenue stream. We're looking for things that are digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. Digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. So basically, like, how scalable is this revenue stream? And then how life-giving is it to you? Yeah. And you basically just fill in those numbers and you kind of look at it. And a lot of times what'll happen is things will jump off the page like, oh, we're doing this just because it makes a lot of money, but it's actually really hard. Nobody likes it. It's sucking the life out of our team. And other things, like in the case of Lewis, where the podcast wasn't making a ton of money, but the other one is which has the most natural momentum. That's one of the other big ones. And it was like, it had so much natural momentum, and it was so life-giving, and it was low stress, and it was like, all right, well, what would happen if we did that? So, we tend to not be fans of multiple streams of income early on.
Yeah. Okay.
I think most of the people who I know who are rich or filthy rich, they didn't get rich from multiple streams of income. They got rich from doing one thing really, really well. They had one business that really blew up. They focused on concentration first, then they broke through the wall, and then did diversification second. So it's like, yes, many millionaires have many streams of income, but that's not usually how they created the first. Usually they create one stream of income. So most of our clients that we're working with are, their personal brands, or they're small businesses, or they're executives of small companies. And so we're trying to go, if you don't have a huge staff, then you need to figure out what one revenue stream is most likely to succeed and go all in on that one thing. So the revenue streams assessment is just like helps us sort of spot the winner.
Yeah, it's true. I often think I'm tortured on that advice, because I think you won't know what to go all in on until you try a few things.
Sure.
And so I think there's this like middle ground. It's almost like you have to actually do a bunch of revenue streams to start.
You're testing them out?
Yeah, you have a test period. And during that test period, you will actually, you'll think that one does really well, and then you'll realize, oh wait, it's actually missing core components. And you'll have to do that for a bit of time until you do another analysis where you say, oh man, of all of these things that we have, it's really one or two that matter. And then you double down on those.
Yeah.
And then you hit this. It's like, I think it might be 3 steps. It's like, first step, revenue stream test and proliferation. Second step is like revenue stream divesting. And third step is
meaning getting rid of streams.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
what I
third
think is huge.
step is revenue stream diversification.
Yeah.
And you kind of like do a circle all the way back to you start diversifying, you end diversifying, and in the middle you win by picking winners.
By focusing, yeah. And optimizing one thing, right?
Yeah.
And even like investors, right? It's like they go, well, that's multiple streams. But it's like, well, if you're an investor, like you're just investing. Like that's the only thing you're doing. You're not often balancing a whole bunch of stuff until you break through the wall and you have a team. Once you have team, time, talent, like technology, capital, then you can do all sorts of things, right? But in the beginning, when you don't have a lot of resources, if I have 10 initiatives and I have 10 units of resource, then on average, each initiative gets 1 unit of resource.
Yep.
Once I become wealthy and then I can hire people to do stuff, now I can put more resources on more initiatives. But early on, it's like more people lose because of a lack of focus in that kind of like, I think in that scaling phase of going, I think a lot of small businesses, like they're quick to add 70 revenue streams instead of figuring out, let's keep the main thing. But I do agree with you. You got to test early on to even know what works, what feels good, what is your audience responding to.
Yeah.
So I like that.
But I like the DARES analogy. I would totally use that on top of a business analysis. We use RICE often.
Oh, tell me.
Which is, so typically it's reach, impact, cost, and what's the last one? Oh, that's bad. There's one that basically says, like, I can't remember what the word is, but it's like how much time it takes for your team. And so it's a literal formula. But I changed mine from reach, which is like I think could be touchy-feely, to revenue. So how much money do you make? Impact to the business, which might mean like how many people need to be on the assignment for it. Cost, how much is it going to cost you? And then how long will it take you? And so you actually lay out this revenue model that at the end gives you a number. And the number, then you can stack rank them and decide, okay, what's the next thing that we're going to do? And every time I come up with a new idea now, I try to make myself run it through a RICE model, because otherwise you have too many brilliant ideas that turn out they're not so brilliant when you compare them through your opportunity cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, opportunity cost is huge. It's like the biggest invisible cost that people don't pay enough attention to. It's just going like, well, I could do that, but what does that pull me away from? Like that being able to calculate the opportunity cost, I think, is one of the...
It's hard.
It's hard, but it's one of the things that people like you do. And going back to what our conversation about trust, it's like never doing anything that compromises the trust of your audience, because that trust is the big opportunity cost. It's like, even if I could sell you something, right? It's like, sure, we could sell them some t-shirts. Is that the right thing though at this moment? And it's like, we can make a quick buck doing this or that or whatever. But it's going, don't ever compromise that trust of your audience. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit about, so if I want to get paid for my expertise, what's the roadmap? Like, how do you go, okay, I right now am a chiropractor. I do want to become an expert that is known publicly. I want to break out of obscurity. Maybe I even run a service business and I want people to know who I am. What is the process that you take people through?
Yeah.
So we've gone through the first 2 steps, I think.
Yeah, finding your who, right? And then you got to figure out what problem do you solve. And then you figure out how do you solve it in one sentence. It's really tough. Is going, how do I solve that problem for that audience in one sentence? The next thing we do is we figure out what one revenue stream matters above all in my business. Then the next thing is we take people through a process called captivating content. So we then extract out of their head what is their system that they use for solving that problem. And we want to create original thought leadership, truly innovative intellectual property. My TED Talk that went viral was called How to Multiply Time. There's thousands of books on productivity and tons of people who talk about time management. But the focus funnel, which was the thing that went viral, my talk, you have to get that from me. Why? Because it came out of my head. So we really work on that to go, you can't be someone, you're not going to be paid at the highest level if you're playing cover tunes.
So good.
Like it's not wrong to play cover tunes. Like that can be fun, but don't expect to be the person that sells out arenas if you're playing cover tunes. Yeah. You got to learn to write your own music, and expertise is the same way. So we teach you how to create quotable moments, how to create visuals. We call them frameworks, charts, tables, diagrams that are unique to your methodology, the way that you do it. And this is why, again, we come back to serving the person you once were, because the credibility is not that you get somebody else out there who waves a wand and says, oh, you're credible or you have a designation. The credibility comes from you've walked the freaking path. Like you've overcome that obstacle and you go, this is how I did it. And as long as you're teaching people how you did something that you actually did, or how you helped other people to overcome that, we bottle that up. Then we put people through something called world-class presentation craft, which is preparing their content for the spoken word. So in our universe, the spoken word is the fastest path to cash. To take someone from an absolute stranger, I've never heard of you, to a lifelong fan can happen in 1 hour if you have a world-class 1 hour presentation, which can be a podcast interview, it can be a webinar, it can be on stage, it can be a breakout, a workshop. But if you do it right and you structure your content, someone can go like, how have I never heard of you before? To all of a sudden, I am binging every book you've written, every podcast episode. Then in phase 2, we do all the digital stuff. That's social, funnels, copywriting, etc., podcasting, ads. And then you get to phase 3, which is often a book. A book, still to this day, is the primary way that you break through the wall of the mainstream to become recognized as a true thought leader. So we do a lot with that. Also the business of speaking. And then we really focus on sales. and how to have a sales conversation. And then phase 4 is scaling the infrastructure of the team you need to like pull all of this stuff off.
It's so good. I mean, you know what the funny part to me is one, books suck to sell. So I think
It's so hard to sell.
they're hard to sell. And yet I think a lot of people want to hit the New York Times. You and I both know what it took to hit that, even with a giant audience. It's a lot of work. And anybody who says that it's not a lot of work, by the way, is lying. Can we talk about that? I mean, I giggle so hard. It's like, oh, I don't care that much. And then I talk to you and you're like, well, I know what they're really doing. You know, it's so good. But the interesting part about books is you don't have to sell a ton. And that was one thing that, you opened up my eyes for a lot of our portfolio companies and our CEOs who are the best painting company in the world, That One Painter, who run an incredible franchise company, Resi Brands, that we run. And I'm talking to him about a book because I'm like, man, you don't need to sell hundreds of thousands of copies, actually. You just need people to know that they have an opportunity to go deeply into your mind and decide that they want to trust you on your venture. And a book does that in a way very little else does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of our other mantras around books is we say, bestseller lists don't change lives, but books do.
Yeah.
Books change lives. Books automate trust. Just like content automates trust, but it's a deeper level. There's a more intimate experience when you're holding the book or you're listening, you're right in somebody's ear, and they're hard to sell, and yet you pour years of your life into get it captured in the book. And by the way, that's also how you speak, is like people have either seen you speak or they've read something you've written. Those are the two reasons why two ways you get booked to speak. So I think books continue to stand the test of time. Ironically, as it becomes easier to post social content and faster to just fling something up, it still takes muscle and hours and hours and hours to edit a book, to write the book, edit it, pour over it. And so when you're reading a book, you're getting this concentrated, this most concentrated bit of wisdom. And it demonstrates your credibility. You go, want to know who I am? Read this.
Yeah.
And some people will look at it and go, oh yeah, I'm not interested. Great. Other people will read it and you go, you cannot read this entire book and not want to do more, right? Yep. You cannot read Main Street Millionaire the whole way through and go, oh my gosh, I want to work with these people.
Yeah.
So it's still super, super powerful, and I love books. I hope they're around forever.
Yeah, me too. I want to talk really quickly about some more of your frameworks and systems. You talked in the beginning about, creating graphics and named frameworks. I think this is super underrated. We call it productization of services. Yeah. So like when we buy a company, one of the first things that we do is we teach them about how do you turn even a service into something that is a product. Yes. Because otherwise it's not repeatable. And so this weekend is our scaling workshop where we help people build companies. And one of the biggest things we take people through is like everything that you do that you think is a service is actually not, in fact, a service. It's a product. And if we can get you to think about how the fact that it would be really bad if every time I bought a coffee cup like this, it looked totally different and they didn't match and they weren't the same and they had different quality levels, that would mean that I had a bad company. And yet we allow that in service businesses and we don't name and frame them. You have a lot of systems and ideas for how you get people to think in frameworks. Mm-hmm. Can you talk through some of your favorite systems and frameworks you train people through?
To help them come up with frameworks?
Could be that, and also what you take them through to create this personal brand, because You're kind of the framework guy. Like you have one for everything, I feel like.
Well, yeah, so we do believe in that. So one of this is actually from my How to Multiply Time, the TED Talk. One of my favorite lines in that book is a concept that came to me while I was writing that says, automation is to your time what compounding interest is to your money. Yes. Automation is to your time what compounding interest is to your money. Inside of commoditizing a service-based business is the way you automate it. Yep. You make it replicatable, duplicatable, scalable, repeatable, right? So for experts, we have to be able to do that. It's if my expertise lives in my head, the only way you can get it is from me. If it lives in a book, it's scalable. It also, we have strategists at Brand Builders Group, right? So we have about 50 employees, and our strategists can teach and expand because they're teaching a body of knowledge. So the biggest trick to this is very simple, is you first have to clarify the idea. And we say it ugly first. Always just say it ugly first. Write. The first rule of writing is to write. Then you edit and get clear on what you're trying to say. Once you then say it clearly, then you go say it with a picture. So say it ugly first, then say it clearly, then say it with a picture. So once you're saying it clearly, you go, how could I show this visually? Yeah. And if you train your mind to think in that way, I mean, then all of a sudden it resonates with people, and it becomes more transmittable, which is a part of virality, right? Is it's going, in order for it to transmit, someone has to be able to share that idea. So anything that makes that idea more shareable, either the way you package what you say or the visual representation of what you say, makes that idea more transmittable. And we're as concerned in going viral offline as we are in going viral online. And so if you can ask yourself that, the other question that we always ask is, how can I forward the thinking of what's been done? So there might be an existing visual or framework that's out there, and you go, okay, how can I add to this? That's what a thought leader does in the true positive sense of the word, is to forward the thinking that's been done. How can I add a layer of usefulness or utility on what else has been written in my space? And that's why it's like, we can all talk about topics that other people have talked about, but don't play cover tunes, right? Advance the thinking. Do the work for the people. This is another framework, is we try to go, how can I do more of the thinking work for my customer? So if you use the revenue streams assessment, it's one thing that I'll say, hey, go think about your revenue streams and think about which ones are the ones you should focus on. But if I turn it into a tool and I do the thinking for them, I create a tool that forces them to think in the sequence in which I would think, or another successful client of mine would think, that's where great visuals and frameworks and tools come from.
It's so true. It's wild because it's personal brand. All of this personal brand is exactly related to building a business. I mean, if you want to be a leader in a business and you don't want to hate your business and hate your life, you have to name and frame everything so that you can automate things and then eventually delegate and outsource it. Otherwise, you don't have a business, you have a job. And so it's actually kind of the same. I think about it with some of our businesses. It's like, we have something called the rule of 3. So every time you do a task that has more than 3 steps and you do it more than 3 times, it needs to become an SOP, right? And so rule of 3. And so I don't have to say, hey, remember that you need to create an SOP on this XYZ thing. I just go rule of 3, and they go, yeah. And so then you get to say less words, and your people get to be an extension of your brain, which is so smart. And it's funny because I never thought about it in that way. But if you could think about building your business the exact same way as building a brand, it would be so powerful. Like, we have something called the Empire Builder Survey, which basically takes people who own a business through a series of about 13 questions to tell them what value their business has and what areas they could do to make their business more valuable. And the reason why is because we did all these consulting calls with people for like, okay, you want to come in, you might be a fit for us to help you by investing, you might be a fit for us to help you by coming to our workshops, but it was all this one-on-one consultation until finally I was like, no, we can, here are the questions. Here are the buckets of answers. If they answer this way, I want to talk to them about investing. If they answer this way, they need to build the business first. Let's put them to our build. And so it's really applicable not just for a personal brand, but across just about everything. And you also have like a survey or some tools and resources for them,
study.
Don't you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we invested about over $100,000 conducting a national research study called the Trends in Personal Branding National Research Study. So it's weighted to the U.S. Census, right? It's statistically valid. We followed all traditional academic rigor. It's PhD led to understand how much does this personal brand stuff matter to businesses. So it turns out 74% of Americans say they are more likely to trust you just because you have an established personal brand. 63% of Americans say they're more likely to buy from you because you have a personal brand. 58% of Americans say they're willing to spend more money on the products and services that come from founders where they know the personal brand and the values of the founder. I mean, this, and if you stratify the data by generations, like the age range of people who filled it out, all the trends show that in the next 10 to 30 years, it's going to matter even more. Even more. Now, it's ironic where our worlds collide is to build a business that has value, you want it to be independent of a person. Yep. That's the whole thing that gives a business value. But ironically, what attracts people to a business often is a personality that they can attach to, right? We don't do business with companies, we do business with people.
Right.
But the way that I think about it for small businesses is I think about it like a rocket is going, your personal brand should be the sort of side boosters that you use to get the business off the ground. But then once you get it launched out into space, then your personal brand falls off and the business can just sort of follow a trajectory and live on without you. But it takes a personal brand can help tremendously early on. So there's a bunch of data. If you go to freebrandstudy.com/Codie, freebrandstudy.com/Codie, we actually give the whole research study away.
That's cool. I want to say that
out. Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
You know, I didn't start a personal brand to have business success. I think I just was curious about what's happening in the world and I wanted to write a newsletter and I like writing. And so that's sort of how it started. And I thought we weren't talking very much to each other. And this was in 2020. So I was like, here's a way that we can maybe start having some conversations. But now that I think about it, it's pretty pivotal to a lot of our portfolio companies. I don't think every human needs to have a personal brand, but I think there needs to be a brand that is associated with you, because in the age of AI and in the age of mass commoditization of content creation, you got to have something that feels human, to your point. And you got to have something that feels unique and high trust, because I think going forward, AI isn't going to make us have to do less work and for things to be easier. It's actually going to mean that everybody is able to be pretty good, and you're going to have to be great to stand out. And one of the ways that you do that is by being, weirdly, authentically you, and your brand can be that too. Like we have a portfolio company, Pinks, that's a window cleaning company, and they're two young guys who they're uniquely them. They're kind of hipsters, they're really faith-based, they're fun, they're energetic, and they attract all the rest of our franchise owners at Pinks are very similar to them. A lot of like ex-vets. They're like these like young, kind of clean-cut, wholesome, good-looking dudes. And they don't have a very big social following, but they have a pretty big social following for a cleaning company. And so if somebody wants to go start a window cleaning business and they want all the systems and processes, these guys have earned a lot of their trust. And so even for window cleaners, I think it's something relevant.
It absolutely is. So let's talk about trust on a data point really quick.
Ooh.
So one of the things that one of the questions we asked in this study is which piece of marketing collateral matters the most in influencing a purchasing decision.
Okay.
And we asked things like they have a large social media following, they have a large YouTube channel, they have a polished, like a podcast. We said they have a blog, they have a nice website, they have a book, a best-selling book, a New York Times best-selling book. And we had people rank them. And none of those things were the top on the list. 62% of Americans say the single most important piece of marketing collateral that will influence their purchasing decision, testimonials from other customers.
Yeah, that tracks.
It costs nothing. You can have it by this afternoon. It costs nothing. What do they want? They want human validation. Yeah. They want a human that they can trust to say, if a human said it, then I can believe it. Not just it's pretty, not just there's lots of people saying this, but like show me an individual people and what they have to say about you. And I thought that was super powerful. The other top ones are that they've been featured in media and that they've been paid for their expertise.
Interesting. It actually tracks, because I was just talking to one of the members of one of our companies, and they have testimonials on the website, but they made a fatal error. And the error is, it says this nice testimonial, no picture, no name. Mm-hmm. That could be, that's almost as bad as not having testimonials on your website. And now there's a lot of ways you got to make sure compliantly you share them, which is a whole other issue. But we have a segment that we do for our build group that is all about exactly that. We think about them as reviews because a lot of these are service businesses, but there's a lot of data that shows people won't buy from you if you have less than 3.5 stars, which is crazy. And they will pay more money for you if you have more than 3.5 stars and more than 100 reviews. And so that's really interesting. Probably a great way to get more testimonials and reviews is basically being online and sharing other people's.
Yeah, it is. And there's online and there's online and offline too, right? I mean, if you look, I believe that the best form of marketing in the world is a changed life.
Yeah.
Right? You change someone's life, they'll tell people. You don't even have to ask them. You don't have to incentivize them. You don't have to send them a coupon. If you change someone's life, they'll tell people about you. Now, when you're cleaning, doing laundromat and you're washing windows, like, are we changing people's lives to that? Well, maybe there's ways that we can do that. But you got to have your customers, you should strive to be so good that your customer force becomes your sales force, right? It's one thing for me to go, hey, I know what I'm talking about. It's another when Codie Sanchez says, hey, Rory is someone that I've hired for time to time to help me. Like, that's freaking powerful, right?
Yeah.
Because you trust that there's that transfer of trust.
Yeah.
And it's human. And I think it's going to just continue to matter more. And I actually think video testimonials are going to matter a lot. I mean, you can already deep fake a video. So, even as that happens, you go, what matters the most? What matters the most is someone in real life coming up to you and saying, have you read that book?
Yep.
Have you been to that restaurant? Have you watched that movie? You need someone to clean your house? I have the person. You need someone to fix your car? Like, your HVAC broke? Like, I have the guy. Nothing will ever be more powerful than that. So yes, online, yes, social, yes, AI, but don't forget at the end of the day, this is about reputation, and reputation is about trust. And these concepts are as old as time. So the medium is changing, but the foundation is the same.
Rory, you're the man. Follow Rory on all. Where do you like people to follow you the most?
Well, so the one place I would say, go to freebrandcall.com/Codie. So if you're serious about building this and you really want to be an expert entrepreneur, build your brand, request a call with us, freebrandcall.com/Codie. If you're not so serious about it, but you want the data, just go to freebrandstudy.com/Codie. And then we'll get connected from there.
I love it. Rory, I really appreciate you. You really did help me a lot. I'm not just saying that. So I can't wait for the next book so I can put you again through more text as opposed to voice note misery. And I hope you guys listening out there take this to heart. I think there needs to be more good humans who are willing to share their expertise and actually do the thing that most won't, which is teach and not just take. And so thanks, Rory. You're the man.
Thanks for having me.
Degenerate. Pretty much like my entire life up until my 20s.
This week, we have the performance coach to high performers. He has had his team help people lose 100,000 pounds.
If you have a big belly, it's going to fuck up your brain. How do you think you're going to feel? Am I going to change my lifestyle, or am I willing to take medications for the rest of my life?
Rory Ring is not going to like this podcast.
Okay, so my whole thing about these trackers,
It's a really good point, actually.
there's no free lunch out there. If you are metabolically healthy, you are less likely to be controlled.
You can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem.
What's going to happen if you don't take care of yourself?
Hi, this is Codie Sanchez. Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. This week, we have the performance coach to high performers. He is one of the top health and fitness coach in the country. For 20 years, he's been turning people who maybe have a lot of wealth but don't have the right kind of health completely around, to the fact that he has had his team help people lose 100,000 pounds. His name's Dan Go. We get into a bunch of reasons that will shock you about why you aren't losing weight, how to be healthy, how your brain is performing if you aren't very healthy, and why doing this one hack might be the way to stop those hunger pains. Can't wait to get into this conversation with Dan Go. And I have something for all of you business owners. It is a grading system to see if your business could be sold for the max dollar right now, or if you are actually operating in an F business. We use this proprietary quiz that we honed with thousands of owners to help you figure out where your business is at. Go to the link in bio to learn about Dominium and to get access to your free grade. And you can tell me in the comments what grade your business has. So this line I was obsessed with the other week on your Twitter. It totally changed my perspective on how to think about health. And the line was this: "I'd die for my family," in quotes. Okay. Would you lift 3 times a week, eat a nutrient-dense diet, fix your sleep habits, walk 10,000 steps, and stop drinking so much alcohol for them? Tell me about that quote.
Dying to me is easy. Living is way much harder. It takes way more effort. And I remember talking to an entrepreneur about this, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, like every parent would say, is like, I would die for my family." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's juxtapose this. So let's just say like your daughter is on the other side of a bridge, and you're on the other side, and the bridge is going to explode unless you lift 3 times a week, unless you do the things that we're asking to do nutrition wise, unless you fix your sleep, and also give up alcohol. Are you willing to do this?" He's like, "Do I have to do the alcohol bit?" And I'm just like, "Dude, your daughter's on the other side." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And the thing to me is just the fact that it is so easy to say, "Oh yeah, I'll die for this, I'll die for that." But the effort of living, the effort of actually going to the gym 3 times a week, the effort of controlling the foods that go into your mouth, the effort of actually putting yourself to sleep every single day for 8 hours a day, that is much harder. That is way more effort than just saying I'm willing to take a bullet for someone. So I feel like a lot of people would be willing to die, but not a lot of people would be willing to live for their kids.
It's actually fascinating. When did you first notice that?
I noticed that when my first daughter came out.
Mm.
And when my first daughter came out, I was like, I am willing to do everything for you. And I am willing to run through walls. I'm willing to build whatever you want me to build. I'm willing to do everything. And something that not a lot of people know is that I had my first kid when I was like 40 years old. That's old in like traditional sense. And for me, it was just like, okay, well, I'm 40 years old. I'm having my first kid. I want to be here as long as I can be for her. And that means I want to live till like I'm 110, 120, 130, if that is at all possible. I want to be there as long as I can. So I have to look at myself. I have to look at my own health and be like, okay, so what am I doing? This is the reason why I'm getting more into longevity. This is the reason why I'm doing my blood work 6 months or every 6 months. This is the reason why I'm doing DEXA scans. It's because I want to make sure that I am lining myself as much as I can to be there as long as possible for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating though, because it's so damn hard. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the difference is. Why do you think that we are so willing to say, yeah, you could shoot me and that would be okay,
Yeah.
but I won't make these life changes? Is it just because it's instant and painful as opposed to continuous and sort of low grade pain?
Absolutely. I do think that I say this a lot, where getting in shape in general is a subtle and slow compounding effect of feeling more positive.
Mm.
I remember you actually posted this thing where you said, okay, well, I quit alcohol for a month. I ate protein for a month. I did all this stuff for a month. I don't feel any different. What gives? And there's another guy who actually came out with almost like copied you word for word. He got like 100,000 likes. And the thing is that you aren't going to feel the differences within the month. It's almost like saying, okay, well, I tried everything I could to build a business for 30 days. It didn't work out. I don't think this is for me, guys. Like, I don't think this is for me.
Shit. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah. And then it's just like, and for me, it's like this instant gratification that people expect, especially when they're trying to get in shape.
Yep.
They want things to be fast. They want things to be as instant as humanly possible. But the thing that we know about getting in shape and the thing that we know about business is that it's about the incremental improvements. And these incremental improvements are not necessarily things that you're going to see instantaneously. But if you have enough awareness over 90 days, over 6 months, and you actually track this stuff, you're going to see, oh, crap, I actually made pretty good decisions over 90 days. I actually was able to control my emotions over 90 days. I was able to wake up out of bed and actually like feel like I wanted to crush the day after 90 days. It takes a little bit more. And I remember I was talking to a client. We helped him drop 20 pounds, do all this kind of stuff. And then I asked him after 90 days, I was just like, okay, so tell me what's happening in your life. What's going on? Oh, dude, we just like crushed our record. We had a record breaking month. I'm having like the best time with my wife. Like we're doing it, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, do you understand that this is a reflection of like how you feel because you've dropped 20 pounds of fat off of your body? You're not carrying around this weight vest on you. And then he was just like, I never really thought about it like that. And no one does.
Mm-mm.
And even it goes the other way as well. Where getting out of shape is a slow burn. Oh gosh. And then you wake up one day, you actually like eat the junk food, you binge eat at night, or you drink enough times and it becomes a habit. And then that becomes your new normal. And you're like, oh, cool, this is what life is like. It goes both ways, and people don't realize it until they have to go through it long enough.
It's true. The other quote that I love that you have is that the American diet was meant to put you in an American hospital for American health care so you can buy American pharma drugs.
Yes. The system sucks. And this is not just, I'm from Canada, and we have both the same system. We have free healthcare. Our healthcare is not even free. Like we have to wait maybe 6 months to get an MRI. I would almost like rather have private healthcare in that sense, because American hospitals, they want to get your money, like they want it. And the thing that we're seeing right now with Maha and the things that we're seeing with RFK Jr. coming into play is the fact that it almost seems like a conspiracy, but it's not.
Yeah.
Food companies make foods that make you more addicted to the foods that you're eating. Pharma companies come in and they say, oh, cool, we have this thing that's going to help you mask the system, or mask the symptom. But what's going to happen is that you're going to have to take this for the rest of your life so you don't have to feel it. And the unfortunate thing is that everyone wants that. Most people want that. I remember I was talking to one of my sister-in-law. She has her parents. Her parents are frail as you know what. And I was just like, hey, I could give her like a workout program. I can help them go on their way. And she told me, it's like, no, she doesn't want to do that. Give her the pill. Just give me the pill. Make it go away. And then that's the mentality that a lot of people have. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is that there's going to come this precipice where you're going to have to take a medication if you've not taken care of your body. And then that's going to be a decision. Am I going to change my lifestyle, or am I willing to take medications for the rest of my life? And unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, they're like, all right, give me the medication. Give me the pill.
Yeah. What's fascinating is all the stuff going on with Maha. I know you and I are both friends with a bunch of the same people. I think like they really took some bullets for us out there. Like Callie Means, some of the stuff that he's had to deal with is wild. But what I like about the stuff that you talk about is that you make it sound so simple. So like you have lots of things that you talk about from your, I don't know, how long have you been in fitness now? 18, 20 years?
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
So you've basically said, in my 20 years of fitness, I can distill health down to these few things. Yeah. What are they?
This is going to be one that not a lot of people will actually see as the most important thing, which is getting your data, tracking your data. I was having this conversation with one of my clients, and I was like, he's an entrepreneur like yourself. I was like, how often do you check your revenue? How often do you check your sales? Every day, bro, every day. Okay, cool. When's the last time that you stepped on the scale? And then like complete silence. And I'm just like, dude, how are you tracking the metrics that matter to you? And you're not even stepping on the scale and you're saying health is a priority. These two things don't make sense. So for me, you cannot improve what cannot be measured. So the first thing for me is going to be setting up some sort of dashboard. You have your surface level numbers, which are going to be your weight, your inches, your pictures. Then you have your deeper numbers, which are going to be your blood work. It's going to be your DEXA scans. It's going to be, for a guy, it's going to be your testosterone levels. And what we want to do is we want to get this dashboard to inform us whether or not we're on the right track or whether or not we're off track, just like a business. Yeah. I actually say there's so much correlation between a business and a body. So another thing is just, and this is not with the data thing, but I always ask entrepreneurs, okay, when a problem happens in your business, fire happens, what is your first thing that you're going to do? All right, we're going to find what the cause is. We're gonna figure out who's in charge of this, and we're gonna fix the cause right at the root. Okay, cool. Okay, so if you step on a scale and you're 5 pounds over and you did everything that you thought you were supposed to do, what is your reaction to that?
Mm.
And they're like, I panic. They're like, I get emotional. I'm like, this is not working. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just that they're so objective for their businesses, which is this external thing. But when it comes to the internal, they are not objective at all. They're quite emotional. So I like to get data because that makes me objective about what's happening with my business or what's happening with my body, so to speak.
Where do you put all this data? Like, is there an app that can aggregate everything for you?
Right now, we're working on it
Oh, that
at
would
this
be
very
sick.
moment. Yeah. So it's like what we're looking for is like weight trends. We're looking for inches. We're looking
Yeah.
for a place to put your blood work. We're looking
Mhm.
for a place to put your DEXA scans. Right now, there's not anything that aggregates everything all at once, but we can have things that file things away. So even in my software, we can file away the DEXA, we can file away the blood work, we can file away the recommendations, we can
Mhm.
have the actual dashboard in front of us, but we don't have anything right now that can give us this health dashboard. And that's one of the things that we're working on at this
Yeah, because
point.
it's annoying. I mean, I have the Aura Ring, right?
Yeah.
So I'm now tracking like movement and steps
Yeah.
and sleep, etc. But then I got to go to MyFitnessPal or something to
Yes.
plug it all in, and then I got to
Yes.
go to like Ladder to do my workouts that I'm going to do. But I can't actually very easily input my numbers for how much weights I'm lifting every single. So at some point,
Yeah.
I'm pretty high functioning. You're like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like I have
Yeah.
to have 37 apps. And I already run a business, how come I got to do this other one? So it does
that's
feel
the
overwhelming.
unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate part. How's the Aura Ring going for you right now?
Actually, I'm loving it,
Yeah.
which is like, yeah, just like you said, what gets measured gets managed. And then also, I think where your attention flows, that's where your energy goes, like Tony
Yeah.
Robbins says. And so the fact that I just know every single day, we also have the 8 sleep bed.
Mm.
So it pings me like, how'd you sleep last night? Which makes me want to look at the Aura Ring. And then I sort of gamify, okay, did I do the steps? Did I do the workout today?
Yeah.
And it becomes a habit,
Yeah. How long have you had it for?
I've had it for like not long, maybe 4 months, something
Okay.
like that.
I've got some strong opinions about that.
Oh no, you don't like them? What's wrong with the Aura Ring?
There's nothing wrong with the Aura Ring. Let's just put that out there. But there is something wrong with using data to kind of like track and make yourself emotional about this stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, so my whole thing about these trackers is the fact that we should use them to get the data. Once we get the data, once we make improvements, we should actually stop using them. And I say for every single one of the people, should I get an Aura Ring? Should I get a Whoop or whatever it is? I'm actually saying like you should get it for probably like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
You should make the improvements that you should make, and everyone's different. So you can test out magnesium glycinate, you can test out mouth taping, all this kind of stuff for your sleep and recovery and whatnot. Once you get that data, once you make the improvements, once you know your average score is at like 85, 90 for like sleep or whatever, get rid of it. And the reason I say that is because when you actually get a bad score, and these sleep trackers are not necessarily most accurate. So let's just say you get a bad score. How do you think that's going to make you feel for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
You get a 60 on your sleep score, and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't think I can I'm not going to be operating at my best. Or let's just say you get a low recovery score, which is like what they give you, even though you're feeling fucking amazing. How do you think you're going to feel? It's going to give you this cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, yes, use it to get the data, but eventually over time, you're going to have to take away the safety blanket and trust like the behaviors that you're doing and not have something to actually tell you, okay, you're doing great. You have high energy. You can go get after it. For me, like one of the best things I ever did was actually for my health was actually get rid of the Aura Ring.
Interesting. Because you were obsessing on it.
I was obsessing on it. And
Yeah.
it was dictating the way I felt.
Yeah. And I think
Right.
that can happen. It's a really good point, actually, because some of my girlfriends don't sleep well. Happens to a lot of women right after they have a kid. Like
Yes.
they really, a lot of them struggle with sleep, it
Yes.
seems.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I would just be so stressed when I looked at my sleep score every day. And I sleep like a baby. So I'm always like, no, I'm fucking Brian Johnson Jr. over here. So it doesn't bother me. But if I stopped being able to sleep well, it probably would. So you almost, it's like anything else. You're not going to get your blood tested every single day unless you're sick.
Yes.
You're going to do it for a period. Then you're going to put it away. Then if you're not feeling good again, you might take it back out again, re-engage.
Yes.
Aura Ring is not going to like this podcast.
Well,
They're
are they
going to want
sponsoring
to
this
cut
right
your
now?
subscription revenue in half. No, they're not sponsoring it, but I
Okay.
like that. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to talk about one other thing that you talked about that I thought was so true, which is you said, you're never going to be as young as you are right now. Being in good shape in your 20s is not impressive. Being 40 years old and being fit is a massive status symbol.
Yeah. There is this law of diminishing health as we get older. You're probably noticing it right now. If you don't mind me asking, like how old are you? Right?
38.
Okay, so 38. You probably know some of your college girlfriends, seeing them grow over the years. There's only a very small percentage of them who are keeping themselves in tip-top shape,
Yeah.
who look like they looked like when they were in college. And the reason is because you have responsibilities. In college, there's one guy on my Twitter who's just like, yeah, man, I used to like drink and I was like in the best shape of my life in college. And I was like, yeah, because when you drank, you were dancing. You're moving all over the place. You're going from like campus to campus and you're like going out with your friends and you're just moving all the time. And obviously you had good hormone health at that point too. But as we get older, number one is we slow down. Number two is that we have more responsibilities. Let's just say we have like 2 kids. That's a lot to handle. And you're not getting as many steps as you would like handling a toddler, no matter what anyone says. And it's also stress. You feel more stress as you get older. Maybe because it's perception, or maybe it's because of the overall weight of everything that you have to handle, all the stuff that's on your shoulders. So what I say is like when you are in your 40s, and if you're able to keep yourself in shape in your 40s, way more impressive than your 20s, because not only are you dealing with responsibilities, you're dealing with hormone changes as well. And you're also dealing with the modern life that's just like slowing us down.
Yeah.
And just in general, it's like, hey, like you're supposed to be in your shape in your 20s, okay? Like, come on.
I know that's
like,
what I always tell them too. I'm like, yeah, just wait until you're my age. Like,
yeah.
I looked like that too. Okay.
Yeah. Like, chill, bro. You're 20, okay?
I know.
Relax.
I know. I do miss those days, actually.
Yeah.
You know, you told a story that was so beautiful, but also daunting to me about you were in your early 20s and you walked into your dad's house at 6 a.m.
Yes.
and you were super drunk. And then something happened that kind of changed your whole perspective on health.
Yeah. Okay, so I was a degenerate pretty much like my entire life up until my 20s. Always a D student in school. When I got to high school dropout. Grade 9 or freshman year, I was in typewriting class or, keyboarding class.
I remember that. I'm that old too.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Okay.
The teacher had to talk to my mom and say, yo, your kid sucks. People don't know this. I failed kindergarten. I didn't even know that was possible. I failed what did I like? They fail people in kindergarten. You're like, you're supposed to do your ABCs. I don't know. So I was always like a shit kid, always. And there was one point in the time where I got really into raving. I got really into doing ecstasy, MDMA, all of the drugs, except for the ones that you put up your nose, because that was like the most dangerous one. I was like, I ain't gonna touch that stuff, right? And there was one time I came home at 6 a.m. and I just walked in, and then you walk in and you see your parent, and you're just like, and then like automatically in your brain, you're like, okay, I gotta play this off. I got act like I'm normal. That I'm just coming home from like Bible study or something like that. And I just looked in his face. I was like, hey, like, how's it going? And he went to me. He was just like, he looked at me with the most disappointed Asian father face that you can ever think of. And he's just like, I'm going to the gym. And he just walked past me, walked straight out, didn't say anything. And then that left an impression on me that I will never forget to this day. I actually still remember it vividly. And the reason why I remember that is because at that time, my dad was probably around like 30 pounds overweight at that point. And he was waking up at 6 a.m., hitting the gym. And guess what happened? 1 month later, my dad comes out. He's like the member of the month. He went to the gym like 30 days a week or whatever, or 30 days straight. They gave him like a free month pass. He actually gave it to my brother. He was like, my brother's like, nah, I'm good. Here, give it to little Dan. He gave it to me. And I was just like, because of that impression I had of my dad, I was like, hey, maybe this gym thing can be a little bit cool. At worst, I will see hot women. At best, I will get myself in shape. So I ended up taking the gym pass, walking to the gym every single day. I was doing nothing at that time, like absolutely nothing, just playing video games, partying. But in the afternoons, I had a lot of time. So I went to the gym. And then lo and behold, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks into it, I end up putting on my pant, putting on my belt. And then I just like cinch it in like one more notch. And I'm just like, yo, this is nuts. If this happens with me not even like caring about my nutrition, like what happens if I go longer? And then that was like when you get results, that's when you become like just obsessed with the gym. And at that point in time, I didn't realize it, but I was changing my brain.
Mm.
So I wasn't even exercising. And then the time that I brought like exercise into my life, it was starting to just like change my thoughts. I was starting to go from being this negative dude, oh yeah, woe is me, to being like, hey, like I can pretty much like do things, you know, I can take action. And it was almost like the, what do they call it? The entry level drug for
Mhm.
self-improvement for me. And then from there, I never looked back. Pretty much like I ended up quitting a corporate job that I hated, started becoming a personal trainer because I was so into fitness, started to be obsessed about fat loss. And then all of this, like I got myself $15,000 out of debt, getting out of credit card debt, all that. Like it just was the lead domino to so many amazing things in my life. And I will never forget it. And I just blame my dad for it. He's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
It is weird to think about you as a non-positive guy. Like I
Yeah.
almost do not have I can't imagine that frame for you, just
Yeah.
as long as I've been following you on the internet and we've been chatting back and forth. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So when you were talking to, some of your clients and you've helped thousands of people lose more than 100,000 pounds
Yeah.
of fat, right? Over
Hell
the
yeah.
last however many years.
Hell yeah.
Um, is that the first, like, what's the first thing you tell somebody who is like, I am fat and I'm miserable and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this?
I will not even tell them anything.
Mm.
I will ask them why. That's the biggest question. Why is this happening?
Mm.
So I'll track back. So one of the things that we do inside of our practice, inside of our coaching practice, is we do this thing called the theory of constraints. This is something that we all know in business, and we want to find out what is the reason why you are doing this. What is the root cause? And I remember talking to one of my clients, and he was just like, he had a problem with binge eating at night specifically. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, why do you do that? I don't know. I just have cravings. I don't know why I do that. And to me, I'm just like, you have to like peel the onion a lot,
Right.
right? And there's always like a physiological reason and there's a psychological reason. So his physiological reason was he wasn't getting enough nutrients, wasn't eating breakfast, all this kind of stuff. But the psychological reason is the one that makes the actual constraint fixed. So we kept on asking him, why? Why? Kept on asking him. He's like, Dan, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know. And I was just like, just dig. Just stay with me here for a second. What happened was he realized that when he was a kid, he actually had two sisters. When he was a kid, his mom put so much attention on his two sisters, neglected the fuck out of him. So for him, what he did was he went into the kitchen every single night. He had to cope with these feelings that he was going through. The only way he could cope was opening up the fridge and eating whatever was in the freezer, whatever was inside the fridge, and making that actually numb the thing that he was feeling. So I never tell people, this is what you should do. Oh, you should do that. You should. I actually say, I want to get down to the root of why you behave the way that you behave. If we can actually just bring awareness around why you are the way that you are, awareness to me is the precursor of change.
Mm.
If you shine a light, then that's going to be the best disinfectant. So the next time he goes and binge eats at night and whatever it is, at least he knows why he's doing it, as opposed to most people who are just subconsciously just doing it because they're trying to numb something, right? So I'm always asking why. I'm never telling people what to do.
That's wild. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
So we almost start with the psychological. And then you can say, okay, it actually makes sense though, because it's not like this stuff is that complex. Like
Yes.
you have another one that I love that I remind myself of. It's like, all right, All of the information that I've learned about fitness can be distilled into this formula. Walk daily, drink water, be in nature, eat nutrient-dense foods, follow circadian rhythms, strength train 3 to 4x a week, get 7 to 8 hours of good sleep. Your brain and body will change for the better when you do this consistently. Not rocket science, really.
No, it's not rocket science, but why are we not doing it? We know what to do, but why are we not doing it? And that to me is the psychological side. So we'll bring it back to, say, someone who's building a business. And I'm pretty sure you've talked to clients about this. You've also dealt with people who have, let's just call it like mental blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Cody, we're not getting enough leads in our business. Like, what's going on? And you're like, you should do this, this, and that, and this, and that. And then next week, they're like, okay, did you do those things? No, like I didn't. Like all these things like came up and whatever it is. And then at that point, you got to be like, okay, well, this is not a tactical issue. This is a psychological issue. And for most people, that is the issue for them. It is a psychological issue that is wrapped up in a tactical issue. They're like, oh, like I don't know how to count my calories. Oh, like I'm eating the wrong foods. Oh, seed oils and like all this kind of stuff. No. There is a emotion that you're numbing as a result of the food that you're eating or the alcohol that you're drinking. And unless you can actually find out what it is that you're numbing and do the work to actually heal that stuff, you are going to run up against the same psychological roadblock every damn time. And let me tell you this right now, that shit is hard. It's the hardest thing to do. Because guess what? It's going to actually show you, oh, maybe I'm like not in the right relationship right now. Maybe I'm chasing the wrong ladder. But I don't want to think about it, so I'm just going to have another old fashioned. It's going to bring up so many of these decisions and these conversations that you should be having with yourself that you are avoiding. And most times people don't want to go through that work. They just want to go through the numbing agents that allow them to not have to feel that.
What percentage of people who are not fit and not healthy realize that it's psychological?
I think for the vast majority, they realize it's psychological. Now, the question is that whether or not they want to do the work to find out why. And then that's probably, I would say, I don't know if I can put a percentage on that, but let's just say like not a lot of people. Because behavior change is hard. You have to, changing your personality in general and the way in which you react to things is hard. And then that also means that you're going to have to look at the world in a different way. And we also have to look at these excuses, these rationalizations that we have, and the ways in which we look at this world, the ways in which we behave in this world, as ways in which that give us comfort. If we don't have the security blanket of comfort anymore, what happens? Oh, shit, we have to take responsibility for our lives. I'll ask you, like, how many people are willing to take responsibility for their lives?
Not enough.
Not enough. And maybe they can do it with their business sometimes. You're dealing with entrepreneurs. I could do this with something external. But when it comes to the thing that's internal, like I got to change like something inside of me. I don't know about that.
Yeah. It also seems to me that a lot of this is that society makes it more comfortable to be unhealthy and unfit. Like,
Yes.
for instance, there was something else that I was reading from you that I really liked, which was, it was basically this, that society eats so much junk food that real food is considered dieting.
Yeah.
And that also when you tell people, hey, I'm going to eat only protein this month, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing any of that. They're like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Why aren't you joining me? And so it's lonely trying to be healthy for some reason. What happened there?
Isn't it lonely? Like when you started to first become an entrepreneur, wasn't that lonely at first too?
Yeah.
Because you had to kind of separate from all the finance people.
Yeah.
And then you had to go your own way. And not a lot of people are willing to go through that process of being lonely. When I started to get in shape, I realized like, oh crap, I really don't like drinking alcohol that much. But here I am binge drinking every single weekend. Like, what's going on here? It's because I want to do things that make me feel part of a tribe. I want to be part of the tribe. I don't want to be ostracized. And inherently, we're all in it for survival. That's what we're all in it for. If we lose the tribe, then we lose our survival. But we're not living in tribes anymore. But technically we are. We maybe are, we maybe not. But inherently, that's what's happening. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be away from the tribe. When I started to get my body in shape, I actually had to get rid of a lot of friends. Because when you start to get in shape, you realize that water attracts its own level. You want to hang around people who have the value of health and not people who are being like, all right, let's have Big Macs. Let's have, burgers and fries and like all the time. Like that stuff's cool once in a while, but not like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that we have to realize when it comes to this stuff is that we're changing identity. That's what we're doing. And to me, changing of identity, changing your self-image, changing the way in which you look at yourself and how you perceive yourself, that's probably one of the most important things that we have to do in this journey. Even going from, let's just say, like we're using a business perspective, it's like going from like being someone that earns 6 figures to being someone that earns 7 figures to being someone that earns 8 figures to 9 figures, whatever. Those jumps require a change of identity. The same thing goes with our bodies that people don't realize. Making these jumps, going from, let's just say, being metabolically unhealthy to being metabolically healthy to being metabolically healthy to getting a 6-pack to doing all this kind of stuff. That requires change of identity, change of behavior. Are you willing to do the work to get there? That is the question.
How does one change their identity to get health?
I think like the most important thing is to get someone to help you, to be honest. Like you have to invest in yourself, whether it be in education, whether it be in the coach, or whether that, I mean, to me, it's like the fastest path between point A, point B, the place where you want to be, is actually finding a coach that tells you what to do and what not to do. That's like the most important thing. And I look at kind of like education in 3 steps, which is like you have your free education, which is like the stuff that we do on social media. We give away our best stuff, like to be honest. We tell you like what the sauce is already. Then you have your courses, which is do it yourself. This is the system, you do it yourself. Then you have the most important one, which is the coach. I think that's the most important one because the coach is going to call you on your bullshit. They're going to keep you accountable. They're going to say, don't do this, avoid this mistake, watch out for that. Okay, cool, we're good. And for me, it's like that's probably the most important thing. But if you can't actually do that, then we have to do it by ourselves. If we have to do it by ourselves, what can we do? Well, number one is what we just talked about, theory of constraints. Okay, so I know I have to eat healthy. I know I have to work out. I know I have to sleep well, whatever. Okay, what is like the number one thing that I can work on right now that I will subordinate everything to just work on this thing? And the thing about theory of constraints is you subordinate everything. You work on that one thing, that one little habit that's just holding you back, whether it's binge eating at night, whether it's snacking, whether it's not working out, like whatever it is, you just focus on that one thing. And then what you have to do is you have to get support on it. You have to find out awareness around it. Why am I not doing this? What is the reason? Then you have to get support. Then you have to make sure that you just track that habit over and over and over until it becomes a part of your life. And then after you're done that, you go on to the next thing. The thing that people want is like this whole body transformation, get abs in 6 weeks or whatever it is. But the reality of the matter is that getting into the best health of your life is about incremental changes that you're making over the course of a year, 2 years, even sometimes like 3 years. And one thing that I always ask my clients, because a lot of clients just come to me, they want to lose weight. Cool. All right. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, hey, John, how long did it take you to gain this weight? And be like, yeah, ever since I started my business 5 years, I just like started gaining weight, and I just haven't, like, everything else in my life is great, but this part I just can't get a handle on. Cool. How long are you giving yourself to lose this weight? He's like, 6 weeks. I'm like, what? Like, dude. And so I have this mantra that I try to impart to my clients, is just like, as long as it takes. If it takes a year, cool. If it takes even like a year and a half, cool. But what you're doing is when you give yourself an elongated time horizon to do this, you're giving yourself the chance to make mistakes. You're giving yourself the chance to find out things that work for you. You're giving yourself the chance to fall on your face and to know what that looks like, to step on a scale and to see that, hey, I'm doing everything I can, but the weight's still going up. Like, what's happening? It gives yourself the ability to actually create that objectiveness around your body, as opposed to the emotionality that a lot of people bring to it.
Yeah. What do you think are some, I hate to use the word hacks here. What's a better way to ask this question? Sometimes I think when you understand a framework can accelerate your path to success.
Yes.
Because you're like, all right, I see a highway that I can drive down. There's like this framework we've already existed on. If I drive on a highway, I go faster than if I drive on a back street. Like, we just know that this one moves faster than the other.
Mm-hmm.
You have one framework, which I really liked, to determine if you're actually hungry or if you're eating for some other reason, which was called the apple test.
Yes, and hunger is like a huge thing, especially for people who are trying to get lean. It's like hunger's going to pop up, right? Like you can't do anything about it, especially if you're in a caloric deficit. So, but a lot of times, like we have to understand there's like three levels of hunger. There's like hormonal hunger, which is like leptin, ghrelin. They're popping up and saying, "Hey, what's up? Like I'm kind of like we're kind of fucked up right here, but we want to eat a little bit." And there is also the actual physiological hunger, which is like, hey, what's up, Dan? You haven't had a meal for like 12 hours. Like, you got to eat. And then you have what is called hedonic hunger, which is like, am I hungry because I'm bored or am I hungry because I'm actually hungry? And then this is where the apple test comes in. So the thing about apples is that they're 68% water, they are nutrient dense, and not a lot, I'm going to say like the vast majority of people do not crave apples or eating apples whatsoever. So I say, eat the apple. See what happens. Wait 20 minutes. Keep yourself busy. Are you going to be hungry afterwards? If you're still hungry, then maybe you actually are hungry, right? If you're not hungry, then you just saved yourself maybe 500 to 1,000 calories of like eating whatever junk food that's around you. So I like to have protocols. For me, systems is everything. Like if I'm running a successful business, I need to have systems. If I'm running a successful body, I need to have systems. And I think that the main thing that people are missing are these protocols and systems in their lives when these things pop up.
How much of your clientele is starting to use things like Ozempic now? And do you like, and I use Ozempic because it's the easier word for everybody to
For
know,
sure.
but what do you think about Ozempic? Should we be using it?
I think for people who are morbidly obese, absolutely. Just being morbidly obese and having way too much weight on your body, then you are going to benefit from not having that much weight on your body. For someone who has like 20 or 30 pounds to lose, who's kind of like looking at it as like this, hey, hack that I can use just to like help myself lose the 20 to 30 pounds, I'm going to say you should probably chill out a little bit and kind of give yourself a little bit more discernment, because the thing that we're realizing about these drugs is the fact that, hey, when you get off of it, guess what's going to happen to the hunger? It's going to come back. These are almost like forever drugs, so to speak. You're going to have to take them for pretty much, I would say, like the rest of your life. Also, the thing that we're realizing is that people are using this as like a hack to lose weight. They're actually burning off the thing that is the longevity organ of your body, which is muscle. Like I've seen people go on Ozempic and not eat high protein, not do resistance training. And then we're starting to see that people are coming up with osteoporosis, starting to see people lose a shit ton of lean mass. Do you know what happens to your metabolism when you lose a lot of lean mass? And yes, like, yes, you want to eat high protein. Yes, you want to do resistance training, but a lot of people are using this as like this quick fix just to lose a lot of weight. The percentage of people who are inside of our program who want to use these drugs or are on these drugs is zero. Absolute zero. But I'll tell you this, we're working with entrepreneurs, executives, professionals, high fucking achievers. So when it comes to the high achiever, it doesn't mean that they're not going to use Ozempic, especially if they're morbidly obese. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that most of the times these guys are willing to do the hard work.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do the work it takes to discipline themselves, to actually follow a program. And Ozempic is like the last resort for them. For them, the first resort is like, hey, let's get our behaviors fixed. So I actually did have one client who was on Ozempic, did great, but we had an escape plan. We created an escape plan for Ozempic because we knew that the hunger was going to come back. We knew that he was going to start to feel uncontrollable cravings.
What was
So-
the escape plan?
Oh, the escape plan was, hey, like you and I are going to talk on the phone every single day. We're going to track like exactly what's going into your body. We're going to make sure that you're eating enough fiber. We're going to make sure you're still eating enough protein. We're going to make sure that you're not going to stress yourself out with like long endurance cardio or anything like that. We're just going to walk. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to go through what I call the struggle bus period. The struggle bus period is like the 3 to even 6 months where your hunger is going to be elevated as a result of getting off of Ozempic. So we just want to make sure there's an escape plan. Just like anything else with any medication, there has to be an escape plan for it. And then we have to actually keep them highly accountable to abiding by the escape plan.
It's fascinating actually, because no doctors give you an escape plan for medicine.
No.
I mean, for cholesterol levels, you're just on cholesterol medicine for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Then you add whatever blood thinner you need on top of it. Then you add something else. And no part of that is a mandate for you to walk more and eat less.
I feel like the health system is a system of learned helplessness
Mm.
where they will give you the medication. They'll be like, hey, you gotta walk, you gotta do all this kind of stuff. But really it's just like they will also, I would say, recommend you being on this medication. And I don't want to go through the whole like, oh, they're making money off it, they're not making money, whatever. The thing is that unfortunately people want this too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people want. They actually want the magic pill,
Yep.
and they're willing to deal with the side effects as a result of taking this pill. To me, there's no free lunch out there.
Mhm.
There's absolutely zero free lunch when it comes to any kind of medication, any kind of thing that you're putting into your body. For eating nutrient-dense foods, high protein, whatever, it's not a free lunch either. There's effort. Like that's the actual cost. For all this stuff, the free lunch is side effects. The free lunch is having to be on this stuff for the rest of your life. Whatever this stuff is going to cost you for the rest of your life. And when I go back and I'm just like, hey, you really should hit the gym like 3 times a week and, work out with weights. They're like, do I really have to? Like, I just want to take this pill. And I feel like it's, a lot of doctors catch a lot of flack for recommending these drugs. But the unfortunate thing is that it is the consumer that actually is asking for this stuff. Notwithstanding the shitty things that are happening with like pharma advertising, all the advertising that's happening with pharma that actually pushes this stuff and psyops people into wanting to take this stuff. That shit is fucking, I will say that's like evil.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
So
agree.
it's a confluence of a lot of things, and I try not to blame doctors for this kind of stuff. But again, everyone is complicit.
Yeah, we're all a product of our environment too. One of the things that I think is really interesting about you is all these high performers that you work with.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about the connection between the body and increased cognition in your brain. What have you found with high performers, and if they get their body more healthy, what happens to their brain?
They make more money. That's number one. We hit record-breaking revenue months, almost with, I would say, like 75% of our clients. So like some of them are just masters at making money, but at the same time, for a lot of people, because it's not really, it is about the cognition, but to me, it's more about the emotional control. It's more about the decision making. So what we know about, especially when we get rid of visceral fat, when we get rid of belly fat, when we get rid of that stuff, what happens as a result is the brain start to work better. You start to amplify and start to grow areas in your brain that are responsible for decision making and emotional control. I actually set out this tweet before. People got pissed at me, but fuck it, whatever. It's just like if you have a big belly, it's gonna fuck up your brain, bar none. Okay, like it is. And then people are like, no, it's not true and whatever. I was like, just Google this, bro. Just Google this. Like, I don't have to tell you what the evidence is. Like, we all know this stuff. This is all just basic.
But why is that? And visceral fat is explain visceral fat quickly.
Visceral fat is the most dangerous fat that's on the body. We should not be aiming to have like absolute zero visceral fat on our bodies, but we should be aiming to have at least healthy amounts of visceral fat. When we have too much visceral fat on our bodies, it sets us up for a lifetime of preventable disease. Things like type 2 diabetes, things like certain cancers, Alzheimer's. And this is very much a lifestyle thing. It's about the foods that you put into your body. It's about the exercise that you do. And for me, it's like my full thing, and this is actually more prevalent for guys than it is for girls. For guys, because they have like the beer belly, that is a sign of having visceral fat. And if you want to check like how much visceral fat or whether or not I have too much, we go through the waist to height ratio, right? So it's like, okay, what is your height in inches and what is your waist in inches? If it's above 50%, you probably have way too much visceral fat. You're probably at a dangerous level right now. And you know what? A lot of people are at that level. This is an aside, but I posted this like before picture of myself. Like when I was actually before picture when I was like in my 20s, before I changed my body, and a before picture because when my second daughter came about, I got myself out of shape. And then when I posted that, a lot of guys were saying about the before pictures, like, hey, like I'd like to look at like that. I'd actually like to look like that body right there. The before picture, like the fat one. And then for me, I'm 45 years old. I remember 20 years ago, I was like, that was actually considered fat back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Standards have inflated large amounts. Now that's not now that's actually considered to be healthy. But when we know about metabolic health, like anything above, like say for a guy, like 20% body fat is going to be metabolically unhealthy. But standards change. Even right now, they're like lowering the standard for like testosterone, saying like, okay, you shouldn't have this much. You should actually have like around like 500 or whatever. But I digress.
And you think that that is wrong. They're just averaging out to what society is today.
Yeah.
And because most people have lower testosterone, they're saying this is average. You're like, yeah, but it's not good
Yeah.
for anybody.
They're moving the goalpost.
Wow.
That's what they're doing. Like they're just moving the goalposts. And there is something to be said. I don't want to get into kind of like the overarching kind of like idea of what testosterone is, but they've done studies where it's like when you have more testosterone in your body, when a guy has more testosterone in his body, he becomes more of an independent thinker. Also, like if you have your body in shape, if you are metabolically healthy, I label it as like you are less likely to be controlled
Yeah.
because you have agency. You have actually high agency. Any person who's in shape, you can actually say, hey, this guy has high agency, at least when it comes to his health, because you're willing to do what it takes to keep yourself in shape.
Disciplined.
It's
Yeah.
discipline.
How do they show increased independent thinking with decreased, let's say, visceral fat or increased muscle? How would they?
It's more correlation with the testosterone thing than it is with the visceral fat.
So how do they measure that?
I believe they have done correlation studies between the amount of times or the amount of testosterone people have on their bodies and the actual like studies or actually like stats that they would pull from like surveys.
Interesting.
But yeah, I will
We'll
say
find
that
it.
yeah, we're gonna find it.
Yeah, we'll link some
post
in the
it up.
studies and see what
We'll
we
post
find.
it up. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to think that now it makes sense to me that when you have less visceral fat, your body can just be more highly functioning.
Yes.
Is that why? So why would your brain grow new neural pathways and actually be more efficient just because you have less fat? What's the ideology there?
It's about blood flow.
Yeah.
So when you have less blood flow going to the brain, what's going to happen is that all of the brain's energy or all of your body's energy is going to be diverted to the place that needs the most attention. And that is protecting your organs. And the thing that we know about visceral fat is the fact that where it's placed in the body is around your most important organs. It's around your heart, it's around your liver, it's around your pancreas, it's around your kidneys. So what's going to happen is that all the energy that would be diverted to giving yourself blood flow in the brain is going to be diverted into the place to keep you healthy or to keep you alive inside of visceral fat. And what we know is that when you have more visceral fat on your body, it actually leads to more shrinkage in the brain for the areas, I think it's the hippocampus, that has the responsibility of emotional control.
Fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think, this is the other stuff that's sort of normal now is to relegate health as something totally self-sufficient from wealth. We say, yeah, well, I'm wealthy because I have a lot of money. Are you, if you're also not healthy? I mean, you have a line that is so beautiful that I go back to a lot, which is that you can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem. Then you only have one.
Yeah.
That is so real. And yet we chase these dollar signs and we go after them because money does equal freedom. But damn, if I got cancer right now, the rest kind of doesn't matter.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. That's for sure. And I liken this to something that's small. So when I played basketball, I remember one time I sprained my ankle. Have you ever sprained your ankle before?
Yeah.
And then that walking on your ankle, the only thing that you want in life is just to walk normally at that point.
Yep.
That's all you want. Because when you're walking with a sprained ankle, you're like, oh, you're hobbling and all this kind of stuff. And that's something small. Let's bring it to something that's a little bit bigger. Say something like cancer. That puts things into perspective. I remember when I was 24 years old and being a complete degenerate, we got this call from my dad. And he was like, we were in Toronto or we were in Ontario. He's like, you got to come to Niagara. Your mom's in the hospital. You got to come here quick because we don't know if she's going to make it. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, we thought our mom was the healthiest person on the planet. We zipped down there And then we go through this 6-month ordeal of just dealing with the hospital, being in ICU, all this kind of stuff until we ultimately lose our mom. We
Mm.
ultimately lose mom, the most important person in my life. And obviously, when you lose your mom, you're depressed, you're grieving. And I remember at that point in time, nothing else mattered.
Mm.
My friends didn't matter. How much money I would have made or all these like dreams and like of like whatever, it didn't fucking matter. The only thing that mattered was I wanted my mom to be back in my life.
Mm.
And let's like bring it to someone who's maybe a parent. What's going to happen if you don't take care of yourself? Okay, let's extrapolate this. So, number one, okay, like God forbid we get a disease. Then you're kind of making your family suffer as a result of the fact that you didn't take care of yourself when you could have. And then now they have to take care of you. And now you're being a burden to your family. Let's extrapolate this even further. Let's just say that you can hit the gym 3 times a week. You're just too lazy to do it. Okay, like when you're 80 years old, you're going to have your kids look after you. You're not going to be independent. They're going to be worrying about you all the freaking time, unless they're like going to throw you in the nursing home, which is even worse.
Mhm.
So my whole thing is, and I've said this before, where it's like part of the reason I get in shape is, and keeping my body shape is so I don't become a burden to my family. you know,
Do you think that you can? Are there studies and data that says that if you are healthy, you have a decreased chance of having dementia?
absolutely. I mean, I can't pull those studies, right off the bat, but to me, there is the genetic component of having dementia or having Alzheimer's. And then there's also the epigenetic component where you have the ability to transform your genes through your lifestyle, through the foods that you eat, through the exercise that you do. A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, like I'm stuck with this gene or I don't have like good genetics or whatever." But the thing is that you can actually change your genes through epigenetics, through kind of like your behaviors, through what you do right now. And the really cool thing that we're learning is that this can be generational. So let's just say like you're overweight, you get yourself in shape, and then you end up having a kid, and you end up kind of like kicking the can, 90 years old, whatever it is, like you're gone. You don't realize that you just passed down your in shape genes to that kid. You also don't realize that you left an imprint on how you took care of your body on that kid. So for me, it's like one of the greatest things that you can do for your kids is like lift the generational curse of not being in shape, of not having good, healthy behaviors. And the more that you can do that, the more that you're creating this kind of like family and this behavior of wealth inside of your family, you are setting up your generation, you're setting up your family for generations to come.
Mm. It's fascinating. My grandparents right now are two of them have dementia. One is pretty late stage.
Sorry to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really a terrible disease.
Yeah.
And so I've been spending more time with my family and them. And the tough part about both of them is, they kind of stopped being mobile.
Mm.
And so they stopped being mobile way before they needed to. My grandmother got a knee surgery and really stopped being mobile after the knee surgery. They got kind of shut down during COVID, right? So then they stopped having interpersonal interaction. My grandfather got macular degeneration, and so he stopped being able to see well, which meant he couldn't walk as much and go in his garden. And I very quickly saw over the course, it was fascinating how fast it happened. Over the course of about a year or two, just their health completely collapsed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the impetus of it was this lack of movement.
Yeah.
And they hadn't ever been like wildly healthy, but they made a lot of their own food and they were very, very active. And then that stopped.
Yeah.
And then I compare that with my grandmother, who is going to be 100 next month.
Yeah.
And she motors. That woman played golf until she was 93, I think, and walks around, takes care of herself, does physical therapy, and is so sharp cognitively because of it. And it's like the tale of two families.
Yeah.
You know, we can go to the left or we could go to the right. And I see similar patterns actually in my parents. And so, you know, my mom's super active now. She's gotten really into Pilates and working out.
Nice.
And my dad's side of the family, just not as much. And so watching that transcend to my brother versus how I am you're absolutely right. You carry a lineage that you are passing down to your children that you have the ability to affect the outcome on. And you have to ask yourself, am I not willing to only die for them, but might I live for them?
100%. And I'm sorry to hear about your grandparents.
Thank you.
Yeah. The thing that kind of strikes out to me a little bit is when you stop moving, that also makes you a little bit more morose and depressed. You start to have more negative thoughts too. And because you're just not moving your body. And to me, it's like the movement it's almost like there's this hamster that's inside of the wheel. And you have to keep the hamster moving. You have to keep the hamster moving all the time. And if you stop it, it is the old saying where it's like you lose it, or you use it, or you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of the things that I constantly remember is like I have a really close friend, and his grandparents lived until 99 and 100. What did they do every day? They walked 2 to 3 miles, no matter what the weather was.
Yeah.
They cooked their own meals. I met my first centaur. Actually, I met probably my second centenarian. So she was in Haleiwa in Hawaii, and sharp as a tack. And I asked her, I was like, "You're my second centenarian that I've ever met. Why? Like, what happened?" And then she was like, "I play tennis. I go out. I still drink margaritas. I still eat tacos, but I stay active. I keep my weight, pretty stable, and I have fun." And then she was like the happiest person I've ever met too.
Yeah.
Big smiles. So my whole thing is just like you have to constantly keep yourself in motion. No matter, because the whole thing about life right now is like, how can we make you as comfortable as humanly possible?
That is true.
To me, comfort is a drug.
Yeah.
That's the most addictive drug on the planet right now. It's like, how can we stop you from moving? Even this whole thing with like robotics and like all this stuff, like, how can we stop you from cleaning your home? How can we stop you from doing your dishes? How can we stop you from gardening? How can we make life easier for you? And my whole thing is like, you don't want life to be easy. Like, once life is actually easy for you, that's when all the shit hits the fan.
Mm.
That's when you see the slow degradation of the way in which you should have lived. So for me, it's like, keep yourself in motion. Yes, there are ways to do it. You want to be lifting weights, obviously. You want to be eating a nutrient-dense diet. You want to be focusing on your sleep. But give a fuck about your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still close friends with people who are really unhealthy?
Am I still close? That's a very good question, actually. Yes, I am. And I have people on my team who are somewhat not as healthy or metabolically unhealthy. And for me, it's about the person. It's not necessarily about their behaviors.
Yeah.
But yes.
Do you think that being unhealthy or being fit is contagious?
To a certain degree, yes. But will it be contagious for everybody? It depends on how much resistance that they're seeing inside themselves. Also depends like how sensitive they are as well. I remember I had a conversation with a guy who used to be my friend, and for me, I'm actually of the mind of like, hey, if I'm a friend, I gotta be straight up with you, right? And I hadn't seen this guy for probably like 3 to 5 years, or actually probably 3 years, and he had gained probably, I would say, like 40 to 50 pounds on his body. First time seeing him, like, whoa. And my wife was just like, whoa, like, holy crap, what happened? So we're walking down the street one day, and I was like, yo, I we going to do something about this? Like, I'm willing to help. What do you need? And then he was just like, and then I just pretty much ran up against a brick wall. Dan, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what's happening in my life. And you don't know this and you don't know that. I'm just like I never asked that. I just want to know if you need help. And for a lot of people, they are stuck in this story of why they can't get in shape, of like why they can't do this stuff, of like why this is all happening to them. And for me, it's like me being like the guy that I am, it's like I almost like turned from like a type B to like a type A personality by just getting my body in shape and being like a hard driver, being so motivated. For me, it's almost like I don't know why people would not want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because do you not want to have more energy? Do you not want to make more money? Do you not want to be more confident? And all it is that people have this story around the reasons why they can't get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you actually just still be stuck in that reason, then it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, my dad always says you can't teach desire.
Yeah.
And so, but I do think, to your point, you can stimulate somebody else to desire a thing that they truly want. And it sounds like that's what you do. It's by getting to that root and then saying, hey, are you aware that this idea is what's holding you back? And then they might have the desire to fix that.
I would hope so. It depends on the person.
Can you tell right away if somebody will do the things that they need to do to change their health or not? Do you have like a 60-second gut reaction to it by now after 20 years?
Definitely. Are we talking about someone that's like hiring me, or are we talking about someone that's like
do you have questions that you go through that you're like, well, you're not going to make it, I can already tell?
Okay, there's actually a line that people use where I'm like, you're not going to make it. And the line that they use when they hire me is like, I'm going to be your best client ever.
That's a red flag.
That's the red flag.
Wow.
Because to me, and I'm like, cool, I would love for you to be my best client ever. I would love for you to have like a before and after. But what I've come to realize is that why you're doing it is probably the wrong reason. You're doing it for external validation. You're not doing it for an intrinsic motivation to get yourself healthy, to make yourself feel better, to become a better version of yourself. You're doing it, you're saying, I'm going to be your best client ever. I'm just like, oh, crap. That's like the death knell. I wish you hadn't said that to me. And then for me, I'll automatically be like, no. Like, do this for yourself. I don't care. Like, you're hiring me. Do this for yourself. But when people say that, I'm automatically being like, you're probably doing this for the wrong reason at this very moment.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. We have a little exercise we do at the end of every podcast.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
Okay. We give you this card, and on it, you write a little letter to either young Dan, maybe it's 24-year-old Dan, or to the 24-year-old Dan's listening in the audience. What would you tell them? And then you can choose to read whatever you want from that letter afterwards on the podcast.
Oh, man.
So we're going to just give you a few minutes. We'll step out.
Okay.
And then you think about it. We'll come right back.
And
okay?
this is a message to 24-year-old Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
So what do you want to read to us that you would tell young Dan?
Oh, man. All right. Dear Dan, first off, let's get this out of the way. I love you. I love you regardless if you're a degenerate or a multi-millionaire. But let's be straight up. Right now, you're not living up to your full potential. There is a world awaiting you, but only if you choose to pick yourself up and take responsibility for your life. You are so much more than you are showing right now. Lean into your resistance and trust that there's a plan for you. And this is actually a line my mom would always tell me when I would sit across from her desk. She would sit me down at her conference table. She would have this talk with me every single time I was fucking up. And then the line was, you can do anything you put your mind to. And it's time to show the world what you can do. I love you. Signed, Dan Go. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Dan Go.
Dan Go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I appreciate it.
I love this. Well, we are going to keep them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to put them into a book for everybody.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like a little lovely, I think sometimes like when we're on stages like this, people think that we're whatever we are.
Yeah.
And even if we're giving advice or telling our stories, like we've been in all the highs and lows between all of us. We're all a mess. So I think it's really a beautiful thing to share.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's it's something to be said about the people that we see on social media, where it's like we have to understand that we're talking to human beings right here.
100%.
Yeah.
He is super
Yeah.
flawed.
Extremely flawed.
Super fucked up, and just like trying to human as much as we can.
Yeah. And I think about this often, where it's just like, in the scope and the scale, it varies, but it's just like you're speaking to millions of people, and you're also getting the feedback from millions of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like to be a girl. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. But when I look at social media, I'm like, holy shit, women get it way worse than guys do. I'm like, God
There's
damn,
some
like,
weird
especially from
stuff.
guys. Like, what's up with that? Like, anyways, but
I don't know.
it's a weird game that we're in right now, and I think this is like something that no one has ever navigated in their lives, and I think both of us are doing a pretty damn good job of it. I think you're doing a great job of it as well.
Right back at you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's always good. You know what really helps me is like meeting other people that are online,
Yeah.
not for the cloud or for, it's like to text you and Sahil and some of my other friends when stuff's going sideways and going, hey, did I do something wrong here?
Yeah.
Or is this like being taken away?
Yeah.
You know, should I be changing? Am I presenting myself some way, or do I have to just like ignore the noise? And it's really helpful to have friends that'll tell you straight up,
Yeah.
you know, the truth.
Yeah. It's one thing to hear from like your family and be like, hey, don't worry about it, whatever. But I mean, that's why this whole creator space, it's such a very intimate space. And a lot of us know each other. A lot of us actually meet each other in person. And it's so beneficial to bounce this stuff off of each other.
1,000%.
And also with like we were talking about some of the book stuff and the things I'm going through with that. It's just so beneficial to talk to someone that understands where that person is coming from, the things that they are going through, the decisions that they have to make in their lives. And yeah, I'm grateful that I'm friends with a lot of the people that I interact with online. So,
yeah, same. Yeah, and it does. You really quickly figure out who you're real homies with or not, too,
Yeah.
because that's the
Yeah.
other one. I always think that I'm friends with everybody. I'm like a golden retriever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, wait, we're not friends. You're just charismatic.
It's-
Whoops.
It's so funny because you probably see this depending on the levels of which you jump across.
Yeah.
So, you're homies with someone when you're like had 100,000 followers on Instagram, and then you hit 1 million, and then that homie's just like, she got too big for her britches, and like all this.
Right.
And yeah, and it's just like, and for me, I'm like, I still look at that person like, you're my boy, you're my homie, but it's so weird because they kind of like see you as like being different in a sense when you're completely the same person as you were when you were at 100,000.
Yep.
Values, everything like that. So
Yeah.
it's weird to see sometimes.
I know.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I remember when I first met Tim Ferriss and like started becoming friendly with him, I didn't understand because I wasn't very big on the internet thing, that whole like not wanting to be public and his essays that he's written on the subject.
Yeah.
And now after being a little bit public, I'm like, oh, I do get it. It's a huge blessing. Like, oh my God, it's such a huge gift and responsibility. But it also can, if you don't have your head on straight, it can drive you fucking crazy. And you can turn into a psychopath.
So I have this thing where I'm so blessed that I got started late. And I would say like
Same.
Yeah, it's like maybe you got started at like 35 or something,
Yeah,
whatever.
I think that sounds right.
And it's just like you have the requisite maturity to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself at 20 years old having to deal with this shit.
No, dude, I'd be Justin Bieber today.
Oh,
I'd
for
be
sure.
Fucking losing it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually doing pretty good. I'd be
Yeah.
Britney Spears. I'd be like those knife chop. I mean,
Oh my
and
God.
it's, honestly, especially because people kind of forget when you get this much attention that you can get in your own head and also turn yourself into a dick.
Yeah.
And you can be like, everybody's looking. Nobody really cares. They care about for like 30 seconds online.
Yes.
But then you go into the real world and people are mostly only nice.
Yes.
You know, unless you're in politics, then I think people are probably mean.
Yeah.
We're going to stay out of that.
Stay
I'm going
out
to
of
stick
that
with bank
part.
accounts. You stick with bodies.
100%.
And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that space, but
No,
but
that would be un-Canadian of you, actually.
Yeah.
You know, aren't you guys
Oh
like too
man,
nice?
no, not anymore.
That's actually true. That's actually
Yeah,
true.
we don't have that moniker anymore.
Dang it! I know.
Yeah.
I watched that hockey game the other
Oh
night
yeah.
where they booed the American flag. French Canadians, though, that's a different breed. I like that crew.
Yeah, but
Nick's laughing because he was a hockey player. He knows it's up.
But the thing is, like
We did beat the shit out of you guys then. But then you
Yeah,
came
it
back
is.
and then you beat us next time. So now we're
I-
all even and
I-
everybody could be cool.
I don't have that sports thing in me, you know, like I don't have that. Oh, you're I just don't, you know. But then at the same time, when the Canadians were booing the Americans, I was just like, oh shit, we got a long way to go, man. We got
Yeah.
a long way to go if this is happening, and you're seeing them as an enemy right now.
Yeah, it's true.
I was just like, it broke my heart when it happened.
Aw.
It did, because I was just like, that's not. I mean, it says so many things
Yeah.
that I am just not in agreement with whatsoever.
Yeah,
So
I agree. Well, we'll let you hang out in America now still then.
I I was actually telling my family, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna become the 51st state, and they're pretty much like locked into the media scape, and they're like, fuck. Like, I was like, oh shit, okay.
Too soon, stir
Too
in the
soon.
pot.
Yeah. But I'm kind of like,
Would it be the worst thing ever?
I
Yeah,
don't think it'd be
that's-
bad, you know.